Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the OSU Mapcast. I'm Cinnabun and we have another group episode today. I'm here with Hailie.
Hello.
Incandescence.
Hi.
And Nevo on his third episode of the Mapcast.
Meow.
How's it going, guys?
I have been playing Minecraft for most of today.
I've been looking at Vocaloid songs all day.
And I've just been doing my usual modding.
That's fair. These guys keeping busy. How you
Yes,
guys,
Minecraft is busy. Let's go.
Yo. How you guys been holding up in quarantine?
I'm fine.
Sort of
Not
But
fine.
my life has changed, so...
Yeah, the work output of Nevo has gone up.
Hey, that's always good. I was wondering because since everyone's going through this, are there any things activities you've been trying to keep active with, or like learning new skills?
Well, for me, I've just been working on my digital art and stuff for the past weeks. I haven't posted anything about it lately, but I'm getting better at it.
That's cool. What kind of art?
Anime art.
Nice. What about you guys?
I've basically just gone all in mapping and remaking old OSU maps.
Just keep on going with those?
Yeah, without like any regard for people caring.
See, I have been doing mostly schoolwork. That's about it. And Overwatch still, so that's it.
That's cool. And how's Overwatch? I haven't played Overwatch in a long time. Has there been any like new characters?
Yeah, they added Echo, which is a bunch of freaking baloney. I don't know if I'm allowed to be explicit on this. I don't remember.
You're fine.
It's freaking bullshit. Hopefully it'll get nerfed soon, but I've just been playing support because that's what I do.
That's fair. Have you guys tried you played any new games since quarantine or whatever?
Nope.
Not really. Just stick to the same stuff.
It's more or less the same. I've been playing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but that's about it.
Nice. I got into Orange Juice because of a bunch of other people.
I hate
So
that
I've just
game.
been playing. You hate it?
Yes, I used to like it, but I tried playing it like a few months ago with my friends. It's just like I hate it now.
Orange juice
that's-
tilts me.
Really?
Yes.
It's
That's fair. I don't know.
I don't like it.
It's probably just because I'm brand new to it, so I've just been playing with a bunch of people.
Yeah, give it some time, bud. Give it some time.
Give it some. I just end up hating it,
I mean, that's what happened with me.
and then we gotta get a group going now. Let's go.
Never fucking play that game. I've considered uninstalling it because I just don't like it at all anymore. I don't want people to ask me to play it because I have it. Like, no, I don't want to play the stupid game.
All right. Well, it's been a while since the last group episode, and Nevo, we talked about how your TOC comp was unrankable, but now things have changed. Do you want to talk about that?
So what happened with TOC Comp is a amazing feat of making a problem get fixed. So basically what ended up happening is the hammer was laid down by the NAT, and they were like, you can't rank a map that doesn't have a scoreboard and doesn't submit score PP. So I talked to Afirmal about it. He was like, you should just make a post on GitHub about it. And then a week later, I made the post, and I had help with Katara, or I think his name's like Chompy is Bottom or something. You renamed recently. So there was a post on GitHub, and it was like, oh, we need to make it so maps that break the score limit are rankable and submit scores so they can be ranked, because people like long stuff now apparently. And so there was a fix that Peppy implemented, which is just turned on score submission. So now the map, if it was qualified, like Yukio beat me to having the first qualified map with score V2 forced. It was when it was qualified, it would submit a score. The score would be limited to 100 million, but it would give you PP for it because score doesn't affect PP at all. So that was a thing. There was actually a small issue that came up with Yukio's map, and this is what he gets for trying to outspeed me. His map had this issue where no fail, which technically cuts like the score in 50%. It didn't break score. So we had this weird case where there was like a 9,000 combo, and the score without no fail was lower than the score with no fail, had like 3,000 combo. And it's really funny just because of like it was just broken. So we had to fix a bunch of issues basically sprang up from the submission of Score V2 stuff, and it broke no fail for like a day or something. So now the map is currently rankable. It's bubbled. It's been bubbled for about a month, and
still gonna be is it gonna end up being your 100th, or did you already rank one in the meantime?
It is going to be my 100th ranked map, and I'm currently sitting at 89, soon to be 90, and then soon to be 99, probably within like 3 weeks after that.
That's cool.
Yeah, so about a month from now, it should be qualified, and then we'll see if there's any more issues with a Score V2 map being qualified.
Well, that's a nice way to end it. It's rankable.
It is rankable, and it is bubbled. It is basically like if I wanted to, I could qualify right now and rank it. If I wanted to do it for my 90th map, which I think is kind of stupid, but
right.
Yeah, it's currently completely fine.
And what are some other projects you guys have in the works?
Nothing in particular.
Fair enough.
I actually started. I did a collab with an old Tycho mapper. I'm pretty sure no one even knows his name anymore, because he's just from the old ages. But
well, if I'm being honest, I don't know much Tycho mapper names.
I don't think anyone here does, especially this name, because it's so old.
Who is it?
TOC Decan.
Nope.
He's the only Mexican Tycho cat ever. But he mapped Kyoki Rambu, which is from Leaf, which is obviously a feature artist now. And there's an extended version, so I collabed it with him because he was the original mapper. I'm trying to rank that as soon as possible. That's the
cool.
newest thing I've made.
I've been Hailie. I've been looking at I've been playing a bunch of your new Kimpu Forbidden Game map.
Mhm.
I really have fun with it. I like it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, actually, I really enjoyed that map.
I know, I find it fun, and both diffs also.
Recently I've been basically just hammering away at remaking a crap ton of the old Vocaloid songs, like all the original, not the original, but like a lot of like the really old Natsume Rin stuff that everyone doesn't like me mapping, but I do it anyway because I like it.
So what are the songs you're working on?
Like Kakuzetsu Thanatos I made, that had a little bit of a minor plagiarism controversy for like the solid one day.
Interesting.
I'm making a map, or I made a map of Lost One no Gokoku, which was this old map. And I think it was by Kotone, and I've never liked the original because I always found it to be way too like easy or under mapped in places. So I wanted to make it more 2020 where everything's over mapped.
Right.
I also have finishing up my bookmark of Demise project, or Shun no Shiori, and the Heisei project. So I'll probably end up making compilations for those eventually. It's just like some other like small stuff. I should do a Vocaloid compilation.
That would actually be really cool.
I kind of want to.
You should remap Alien by Nauten, or however you say that.
I thought you were going to say remap Alien by Monstrata, and I was like,
Yeah, even I was going to be like,
not that one. The cute anime one.
I don't think I know it.
Oh no, it's like a loved map. It's like a really old loved map. It's like a Nauten Alien.
See, now that you say loved map, I just think of the Alamau Alien map.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, maybe I will. I love remapping old stuff. It's really fun.
Right. Have you guys did the 2020 community survey?
Yeah,
I did.
That was a fun survey to fill out.
I also feel that. I thought I enjoyed it. So I got some questions out of it. I want to see like what you guys answered and like thoughts on it.
I wanted to specifically make sure I don't tell anyone what I answer. Some of those things.
Oh really? Okay. Well, we'll probably save it for the other people. But so the first one I have was how satisfied are you with the current state of the ranking criteria?
I think it's completely fine.
Ranking criteria, yeah, it's fine to me.
Yeah. The RC for Tycho is fine as well.
Alright. And what kind of feedback do you find most useful from mods that you have received/written?
Who's gonna go first here?
I have to think of my answer. That's a good question.
Hailie?
I have to think too.
Okay, Incan.
Repeat the question, please.
What kind of feedback do you find the most useful from mods that you have received / written?
I wouldn't say necessarily it's like specific feedback. I guess it's more like a specific format. When you're modding, I've been over this with other people in like the Taiko mapping server. You need to. I don't follow this format when it comes to experienced mappers, but usually it's like state your suggestion, explain why your suggestion is good or why it would work, explain why what they did is not working, and then provide an alternative. Like, as long as you follow that format, usually the mods that you're going to get, doesn't really matter the specific feedback, but the mods you will get are going to be pretty quality. You can apply that knowledge to your map. It's going to help.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually what I usually do for newer mappers. For more experienced mappers, I try to go more into detail of the issue at hand and try to less go through that format, because usually they have an idea of what I'm trying to say already. So I don't think I need to overly simplify it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm backwards, because the more experienced the mapper, the less in detail I get. Because I feel like I will mention something, and it's like, okay, you can complete the sentence kind of thing. Like, you know what I'm trying to say here. I don't have to spend time writing about this spread issue. You know it's a spread issue. You know how to fix it. I hope.
Let's see. So I'm a pretty laid back modder. Some would call me completely lazy and ridiculous that I'm still a BN. But for the most part, if I find that the mapper is pretty inconsistent with their ideals and what they're trying to go for, I will say a lot of stuff. But if they're usually fairly consistent, then usually I don't ever mention that much stuff. So the thing I like to always keep in mind is my mods, if I mod, it tends to get really, like, I don't want to say verbose, but my mods get pretty long, even though it's really redundant stuff. Like, if I'm saying, you should move this circle, sometimes I'll be like, you should move this circle because blah, 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 and I point out like 7 other objects around it. That's like the reasoning. So I like to go completely overkill, but I also like to make my mods very kind of like if it was a voice chat, like if I was talking to the person, and I'll literally write in the mod like hms and ahs or e's. Yeah. So I like just making it very like it was just me talking to the person.
As asterisks, mods your map.
One thing I do like to keep in mind is I like to make maps play nicely and look nice, as is probably apparent from my mapping style.
Yeah.
So whenever I can like try to make something more clear, more obvious for the player to play, then I'll try to mention it. But it doesn't happen that much or that often usually. So right. I don't know if that answers the question, but
Nah, you're good. Also, so the next one, what do you think is the biggest issue with the beatmap nominators, if at all? I thought that would be a spicy one to talk about.
I think there's a small issue. Okay, well, I want to say it's an issue more with the beatmap nominators. I think it's more of an issue of like a community-wide issue where there to me feels like there's a lot of like hostility and anger towards pointing out issues in people's art. I mean, well, maps. So, like if someone comes in and DQs a map, then there's usually like the huge drama around that, as I'm sure Hailie has experienced
Yeah,
recently.
I have experienced that the entire month of April.
Dang.
So, I've learned to kind of just go with the flow of it. So I think there's like this issue where a lot of people just think BNs are kind of robots, or a lot of them just don't do anything, even though like a lot of us, I won't lie, most of the BNs are basically always closed on their pages. I don't care what anyone says, majority of people are closed most of the time.
Right.
But if anyone's noticed, there is still a very decent output of maps, so it's not like they're not doing anything. It's just that there's so much stuff, and there's obviously more maps than come out, but that's just the way of the system.
Just super
So I
busy.
feel there's a lot of people who just don't understand, like, there can only be so many BNs, and they can only take on so much workload. Like, some people can't do 50 maps a month, where the I don't know, like the teenager who has no job can probably poop out 30 nominations a month easily, where someone with a full-time job can probably do like 6.
No, exactly. Like, they also don't want to like overwork anybody.
Yeah, like, and obviously they're not going to start forcing quotas because not everyone's the same person. So I think it's just an issue with there being like not a complete lack of understanding, but a lack of like, well, yeah, there's a lack of understanding from some people that there should be more BNs for everything because my map is not ranked even though it's completely rankable.
Right.
So this is that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my issues is more or less similar to his, especially the hostility. Because it's just even like posting a suggestion in a map, it's just the responses is so much different had I not like checked it during pending and such like that. And it just feels like the mapper feels like they are, don't understand that they're privileged to have the mapping qualified versus actually willing to cooperate or even reasonably respond to the post at hand if they really wish to keep their whatever thing they have in their map in particular.
Yeah. I see that.
I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay.
I'll add to. So I've gotten my fair share of maps DQ'd in my tenure of 4 years here. I try to make I try to avoid DQs because obviously no one wants their map DQ. I think it's a fair statement that people don't necessarily like their map being DQ'd. Most people. Some people are like appreciate it. For the most part, if I get like a mod or something that I deem not very necessary to change, like, oh, there's a missing hits down here or something like that, it's like, oh, okay. In the grand scheme of the map with 5,000 objects, I don't really care if one object's not hit sounded because I'm not a perfectionist like some people.
Right.
So I'll argue. I won't argue. I won't argue like some people where I'm like, I demand everyone give their opinion and there's a veto and it goes through mediation. Like, if my map gets vetoed, I'm just gonna fix it. I don't want to deal with the extra time and effort for stuff usually.
The drama.
Yeah, because I'm a very like non-drama person, I would assume.
Absolutely.
I think I made that semi-clear.
I want to not be drama, but it happens anyways.
It bugs me that vetoes are seen in such a negative light because I veto Tycho maps more than anyone else in the BNG. Like Nevo said, people don't like getting their map DQ'd. I get it. However, if you are pushing a map that is not good to me, I don't want to say the right, but I have the ability to say something and say, I don't think that this should go on to rank. I am not trying to be mean. I just want to talk about what you did that I don't like, and maybe we can compromise, maybe we can't. But there's
that's
nothing,
like your job, right?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing there's like no malintentions there, which is what I hate about vetoes. No matter what mode it is, if someone vetoes something, it's taken as like a personal attack on the person. Like they're seeking out that person to veto their map, and it's just so frustrating because I've gotten warned by Nats not to veto things the way I have veto things because they're so controversial, and every single veto of mine that has been dismissed was dismissed through a tie. And it's like, you need to be careful, and I get it, but this is why I don't want to say anything because it's a thing for me.
Nah, that's fair.
If I veto something, I'm trying to just talk about it and reach a compromise, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong, and that's fine. People are wrong. This is mapping. We all map differently. But I'm so sick and tired of vetoes being seen as something so negative and that needs to be changed. And it's just so frustrating. And so I don't.
I'm sure a lot of people can agree with that.
I believe vetoes should definitely exist, and if anyone goes through my icon history of what I've nominated, I have a very woke past of very weird icons of maps that maybe people don't like and a lot of people would hate and probably say I killed the rank section. But my idea of the rank section is if the map is fine and people deem it fine, then it should be ranked. That was just my general opinion. And I also think if people think the map is complete garbage, they are in their right to say, hey, no, stop that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've icon maps knowing full well they would immediately get vetoed and qualified. Like, because in my mind, I deem this fine, and if they're gonna veto it, then just let them do their part of the course.
That's fair.
I mean, obviously, I would prefer not to get vetoed on some icons, but most of the time I'm just like, well, if they disagree and I disagree, I can still push the map. It's like I have the power to do that. So it's just like a general thing. Like for the most part, a lot of vetoes. Well, here's the thing. I guess the easiest thing to say here is, there's a lot of disagreements in the qualified section between BNs and mappers. Majority of them no one hears about because they get resolved and they don't get vetoed through that. You only ever hear about like the big drama vetoes because it's like usually it's when everyone makes a big fuss about it. But there's a lot of things where if there's one map that gets vetoed for hit sounding, there's probably like 7 maps that were DQ'd to fix some hit sounds. Like it's like one in a couple usually. So vetoes aren't that consistent, but when they happen, everyone gets like in a big fuss about it because it's usually just 2 people who don't want to disagree.
And it also depends on the mapper at times, because it's like I noticed that more new mappers or unknown mappers are willing to cooperate, and you hardly see the same amount of drama as some of the big names. Like, for example, the Deets map that I have DQ'd over the hit sounding.
Yeah. I think the reasoning for that would be like, usually once you've been around for a while and you've pretty much that you for the most part have to be knowing what you're doing because you've been around for so long, you would imagine. So I think it's just people kind of get that idea. Like for the most part, I won't even get mods on my maps anymore. I basically just go straight to BNs instead of getting 100 mods like I used to, and that's just because like for the most part I know what I'm doing theoretically.
Theoretically.
More or less the same for me.
I would hope so.
I'd hope so.
I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. Who knows? Theoretically,
Yeah. Alright, so next one. How do you feel about the overall climate of the OC community?
Overall. I would say overall, if you were to take a huge step back and look at the OC community, I think it is a wonderful community. And I say that full well realizing all of the crazy dramas we've had with possibly illegal things and all that whatnot. Overall, ignoring the bad apples here and there, I think the community, it's honestly to me kind of amazing of how it's this little community around the circle clicking game and how I can know like 300 people and just talk to them and know them all really pretty well through Discord and whatnot. However, there's obviously the weird, crazy stories that occur throughout time.
Right.
But for the most part, I mean, comparing this to something like Counter-Strike or I haven't played League, but I would say think something like bigger communities like League and whatnot. Very few places I've been is there like such a closely knit community of people. And I came to this full realization when it was like, if anyone remembers r/place from a couple years ago, and how the Osu cookie is on the r/place board thing. I don't know what that thing was called, to be honest with you.
I don't think I'm aware of that.
Oh, so there was a Reddit, I don't remember how many years ago, it was for April Fools, where there was a board, kinda, and every user could place down a single pixel on the board.
Okay.
So, and it was on Reddit, so it was like all the big communities came together and they made their whole thing. There's lots of interesting, it was really interesting social experiment. And then the Osu cookie, like, had a really, it wasn't huge, but it was, you would see it. Like, it was a very obvious spot on the board, and it was the Osu cookie. And it was through our community that we were able to basically compete and keep up with all these huge communities, like 10 times the size of Osu. And I think that alone is something that was completely amazing.
That's super cool.
And then obviously there's like the mapping, like there's obviously the subsections. Like I'm not very into the playing side of Osu anymore, so I can't comment much on that. But for the for like the mapping side, we have this system where you as a single person, basically you're forced to basically talk to other people and push your map through the system, so it's played through possibly millions of people.
Yeah.
I think that's a very interesting and just really cool thing that it's like, oh, from one person communicating and doing things with other people leads to more people, and everyone's connected in some way. Everyone is connected in the OC community. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing, like what Pesci said, like I'll like kind of move forward that when he said it in his episode, is like how the community is like anyone who really puts in the effort can have an impact on it. Like just like a normal person who's playing a game can actually like end up working to like to get a BN or become an NAT or stuff like that, or just a mapper, and like end up having some sort of impact on the community. And I think that's really cool. What about you guys, Hailie, Incan?
I don't really have too much to say around that one.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I don't know. I struggle with this question because basically what Nevo said is pretty accurate, but I wouldn't say that this community is so closely woven. I mean, maybe it's different in standard because you have a whole bunch of people. You would think it's
Right.
the opposite because Taiko is small, so we have the opportunity to know each other more. But it just doesn't feel like a united community, I suppose. Like there's just too much conflict in every single possible category, and I'm not talking disagreement, I'm talking literal conflict. I mean, overall the community is, it's a good community. I just don't know if it's like so tightly woven, I guess.
Like I would definitely like partly agree to that, because if you, like I'm saying, if you take a really huge like leap back, you're jumping back and you look at the whole thing, it's pretty. But I mean, if you zoom in even like a tiny bit, there's separate groups of people, obviously, where there's sharp disagreements between them and they'll fight every opportunity. But to me, it's like even like the fact that, you know, there's community within the community, even if the communities are fighting. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's true.
And even from like, I had a short stint, I think it was like about a year, where I was semi-involved with a bunch of the YouTube people, like the replay channels primarily for stuff, where I was uploading for Circle people. I had my own YouTube channel and all that stuff. So even like then, I was able to talk to some of them, and even that little sub community of video creators and content creators was really interesting. I mean, obviously that didn't really go much, and my channel has been uploaded to in like 3 years, but it was just it's like there's all of these separate little spots and stuff, and I do kind of feel sad. I never got involved with the players that much, but it was really interesting just to see how many small little sub communities there are in our huge OSU community. That's very small compared to many other games.
Absolutely. Alright, well, if that's all said on that.
I think it is, yeah.
Alright. Well, I do have one more topic to save. I saved for the end. A while back ago, if you guys remember, there was a tweet on the Mapcast account which was asking for unpopular mapper opinions. So I got a few here to get some of your guys' opinions on it. And I guess before we go into it, just a quick disclaimer: these are just opinions. So again, don't get super. I mean, just even people watching, don't get super like, what's the word?
Triggered?
Into it, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like one of the first ones here I have is by BenryMan12, and he says maps should focus more to try to be enjoyable to play and interesting rather than express the song. Mapping is level design.
I don't really think that's a truly unpopular opinion, to be honest with you. Completely.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I know a good amount of people that hold a similar opinion to that.
Like, I mean, I kind of hold a similar. I don't fully agree with it, because I believe there should be some. You should follow the song in some way, because it is a rhythm game. So you're going full on just pure. Like, if you were to map silence and then it plays good, but it's still silence, it's kind of weird to me. So there's like extremes to that, but
Right.
I feel like if to have a map, you have to have a song, and if you have a song, you should probably follow the song because it's a rhythm game. It's just how my thought of that would be.
My
I
opinion
agree.
is kind of more mixed between that, and I feel like it should matter both following the song and making sure it plays well. But like, since I map differently than others, people probably would think that my maps don't play well. So it's like, I don't know. It depends on the person. I guess it just depends on the person on this one.
Right.
I mean, as with most things, there has to be a proper balance. I mean, you can't focus solely, because I know of maps that I'm not the best Taiko player, but I have many good Taiko players that are like, yeah, this map is fun, and I'm like, honestly, from a mapping standpoint, that map is trash. And of course, so you have that confliction. The goal should be to get both to balance with each other. I feel like I've done a good job personally of doing that, which some people say makes my maps boring. I don't care. I know they're good. But there just has to be a balance, because you can't focus solely on playability, and you can't focus solely on mapping the song accurately, because if you focus on one of the two too much, there's just going to be a problem. Either the player's not going to be happy, or other mappers aren't going to be happy.
Or you get a
I
mix of
agree with
both.
that. Right. Fair enough. All right. Paradoji says, symmetry is only ugly and boring when used as a whole mapping concept.
Disagree.
I don't know what symmetry is, so. I mean,
Fair
I
enough.
know what it is, but I don't know how it relates to standard mapping.
As someone who has spent basically the past month looking and trying to map like old-ish mappers, they used to use a lot of symmetry, and I've grown to appreciate symmetry. I don't believe every object should be symmetrical, because that falls into the playing versus aesthetic point of view thing from the last question. But even if a map's like mostly symmetrical and it still follows the song and it still makes logical sense, like if you're just doing symmetry but the emphasis makes absolutely no sense, that's pretty not okay. But if you're doing symmetry and it's still following the song, then I think it's really good, even if you do it for the whole map.
Yeah, basically the same thing as Nevo on this one, because I really like symmetry, but only when done well.
That's fair. Yeah. I'd say I also agree completely with that.
Yeah, I
Next
agree.
Yeah. Taiko mapper.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Alright. Sulfur, his opinion, says normal hit whistle is freaking gorgeous and more people should use it.
Yes.
As someone who literally does not care about any hit sounding, I don't have an opinion on this.
What are do you have like hit whistles or like sounds like that in Taiko?
Well, I mean,
Isn't that how they map?
it's like
I don't.
okay, so you plot two color notes. It's either when you switch the mode over, immediately you're just gonna get like whatever you in standard. If you open the editor, click a circle, that hit sound that you hear is what you're gonna hear for Dawn, and then when you turn on the whistle, you get the literal whistle sound, assuming the default skin. Then when you turn on the clap, you get the clap. And in Taiko, it's frowned upon to use the whistle, because it's just kind of meh. But I mean,
Alright.
it depends, cause like on my skin, the whistle isn't that bad, but it doesn't matter because on the plate when you're playing it, it's gonna sound nothing alike. So it doesn't really matter in Taiko, but mappers are a little, we like to meme about it a little bit, I guess.
That's understandable. Alright, Johannes A. Their opinion is overmapping is a good thing as long as people who play it didn't notice that it's overmapped.
Oh yeah, I have a huge agree to this. I mean, I have maps that have streams that are literally mapped to silence and no one noticed, so it's perfect. Yeah, I've discovered the art of overmapping. I discovered it a couple of months ago. It's really fun just to make rhythm, have it work.
I imagine
Like-
overmapping is actually like a common thing in Taiko though, like for slower songs as well.
Well, in Taiko you have two different words, right? You have improvisation and you have overmapping. They are two different words.
Okay.
Improvisation is, yes, you do come up with your own rhythm essentially, but overmapping is taking that too far to the point where you're just mapping to nothing, or you're throwing notes out there for the sake of throwing notes out there. It's tough to distinguish the border between those two because they are similar, but there is a difference, and overmapping is bad. So I don't necessarily, well, if you're not going to rank it, go crazy. Do whatever you want.
Right.
But if I see it in the qualified section, don't be surprised if I pay your timeline a visit.
Okay. What about you, Hailie?
Overmapping is a mix for me because I don't particularly like it, but if you make it work, then I'm not going to complain.
Alright,
Yeah,
understandable.
for the most part, when it comes to overmapping, if you're the way to make it work for a lot of songs is if you're still following like general music theory, it'll work. But if you're completely randomly and like arbitrarily throwing circles around just to add circles because you're like overmapping is so awesome, then it's probably not going to work.
Streams to silence.
I mean, streams to silence fits if it's what the song should have did.
Should have did.
My saying is the song is undersonged and it needs to be oversonged.
Okay. Fair enough. Alright. So this one, so you know how I said don't go after anyone for opinions? So she says, almost all maps pre-2016 are worlds inferior to the maps produced today. They may have been decent then, but they're total crap nowadays.
Oh, that's
That's
funny.
false. Yeah, that's extremely false.
What was the question again?
I said almost all maps pre-2016 are worlds inferior to maps produced today. They may have been good then, but they're total crap these days.
Oh.
So thoughts?
As someone who I want to, it's like the fifth time I've said this. As someone who's looked back into the past of mapping to draw more inspiration, I have a very sharp disagreement, and even as me being a BN from 2017 to now, basically, is I don't really like modern maps all that much compared to what my nostalgia is for, which is probably more nostalgia, me being biased towards the stuff I quote unquote like grew up with, since most of the people who made the maps that I grew up with are gone or not active as much anymore. So it's like I have this huge catalog of like stuff where it's like, oh, I played for 2 years and I played all these songs and I loved all of them, so now I'm mapping all of them, and I don't really have that connection to anything recent or memories of anything recent unless I'm a part of it. I think it's more because I'm part of mapping then. I feel if I started playing in 2018, I would probably think, old maps aren't that great. I prefer new maps. Like how I like maps from basically after 2010. I don't really like 2008 and 9 maps that much. So I think it's kind of like that kind of people just when they come up later, they just don't really like or appreciate the older stuff.
I don't know about standard, but when it comes to Taiko, older stuff is just more simple. I've seen like 2007 standard maps. I mean, I know that. I know I know kind of what they look like, but I don't know like 2010 to 2015, for instance. But in Taiko, they were just more simple. I mean, you had just like the person I mentioned earlier, Dake. His mapping is simple. It still is very simple, but in my opinion, he maps better than some of the mainstream mappers today that think they're pushing some kind of new, like, revolutionary meta. It just kind of falls flat, in my opinion, like, a lot. But, I mean, it depends. You can do something... In modern meta, there's more experimentation, which is a good thing. But you have to be able to experiment and it not... Of course, this is subjective, but it not be bad. Back then, it was...
Yeah, it definitely does depend.
Back then, there wasn't as much experimentation, and it's just it was a more clear-cut and simple time. You know, you do this, you follow the like requirements or the expectations were higher to rank maps back then. So when they were more simple, they were more consistent, but they were also kind of all the same, which is why I understand when people say, like, these maps are so generic. I know what they're referring to, but even now, you have lots of experimentation. A lot of it is really cool. A lot of it's also really trash. So it's hard. I don't think it's fair to compare the two time periods because they're just so different in like almost every way imaginable. But it is a bad thing. It is extremely false to say that anything before a certain year was all bad and inferior, because that's not true.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. You have anything to add, Hailie?
Nothing really much. I pretty much agree with both of these people that I personally think that older maps. I actually have a very weird thing about modern maps because even though I have nominated so many of them, I have never seen a single map this year that interested me compared to back then. And I don't want to even say that it's nostalgia. I just feel like it loses the fun aspect that older maps had compared to newer days.
Yeah, I have to partly agree to that. Like there's been probably under 10 maps in the past like 3 years that I would say I need to play that, or I really, really, really like that. And there's been maps that like the community has deemed like super good and super popular, and I'm just like, I don't get it. Outside of like the big PP ones, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think part of my reasoning for really liking old stuff is I like the songs, but I'm pretty sure I'm really just nostalgia driven. But one thing I will add is there has, I mean, you have to remember, we've basically had the same editor for effectively like 6, 7, 10 billion years now. So the mapping has progressed, and we went from the old 2007 symmetry linear grid mapping to what we have now, which is text letters going across the screen. But for like the most part, I feel like it's just a natural, like people want to do more things, and they're kind of having to push what the editor can do, which leads to arguably bad map, but it also leads to good maps. So it's like it's a win-win for me, apparently.
Do you feel like we're plateauing with creativity and mapping?
No,
I don't feel like we're plateauing.
I don't think we're even
I feel like
close.
there's-
Sorry to interrupt you.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff we can still do, but I do feel like a lot of the stuff that we have done, that we shouldn't disregard it, and we should still keep it in mind when we do stuff now.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm never gonna be the mapper, or even I'm never gonna be the mapper to experiment with anything, because the formula, I guess, so to speak, of what I have decided to map works well. I consistently make pretty like B tier maps, and I'm happy with that. Like I said earlier, though, the experimentation that's going on now, Nevo said it, I said it. It's a double-edged sword. You're gonna get things that are absolutely amazing, and you're like, wow, how did this person think of that? And you're gonna get stuff on the other side that's like, how did this person think of that? But in a completely more negative way. Like, what?
Yeah, for the most part, it's definitely a double-edged sword. And I mean, as someone I went from the super generic, like hexagrid Monstrata style to a more freeform thing. Like it was over the course of 3 years. I say it's experimentation. Some people are saying it's me using common sense, but it's fun to change things up every now and then and just try new things. That's what I
agree
learned.
with that. Yeah. Alright, well, moving on to this one is also a pretty hot take. Philip Engo says, BNs only nominate songs they like or if they're friends with the mapper.
That is false, because I've nominated songs I hate, and I've nominated maps I've nominated maps I don't even like.
Here's the thing with that. Oh, go ahead, Nevo. You're unfinished. Go ahead.
I'm arguably a horrible BN for that with some people's opinions, but if I deem the map like rankable and I think it's completely fine, even if I don't like it, I'll still nominate it. Sometimes I won't. Nowadays I don't really like modding songs I don't like, so I won't probably do that. But if it's like a map that's like I don't completely agree with the way the mapper is doing things and how they mapped it, and I would do it completely differently, I'll still respect and be like, yo, I'll help with this, because I still respect the fact that you did the song and I think you did it in your way, not my way, and I think that's fine. Like I also don't veto anything, because that's my same logic with that, and people call me a bad BN for it. but it's just been my opinion always. But anyway, that's all I really have to say.
I was gonna say that here's the thing, you have to. Number one, let me just preface everything. A BN has the right to only accept songs that they like. That's not a bad thing, and it shouldn't be considered a bad thing. The reason is, number one, you have to consider the fact that me, Nevo, any of the other BNs, they're gonna have to hypothetically spend so much time in this editor to check your map, and if you don't like the song, what is gonna make me want to spend 30 minutes to an hour in the editor listening to the same song over and over again that I don't like? You have to think about it like that. It's not just I play it through and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good, let's qualify it. I know that there are Taiko BNs that do that, but that's not how I do it.
Yeah, and I would have to add to that. It's like I wouldn't go around forcing players to play songs they don't like just because like I want them to play it. Like if I send someone a map and I'm like, yo, can you test play this? And they're like, yo, I hate the song. I'm not gonna be like, no, play my map. I demand you to do it. Like that's not right. But yeah, that's basically that.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down, I mean, even the second part of it, people that are friends, I mean, it's more natural, I guess, in a sense, to want to help out your friends. And yes, when you're a BN, hopefully you take this position in a sense to help other people. And it's not necessarily that when people nominate their friends maps that they're just like circle jerking each other. It's just more, you know the person, you know them well, so if they ask you for something, you're more inclined to say yes because you're their friend. That doesn't just happen in OSU, that happens with anything in real life. If a customer at work walked up to me and said, can you take my dog out? Why would I say yes? If my friend comes up to me at work and says, can you take my dog out? I'll be like, yeah, I'll take them out. If I really need to, I'll take them when I'm on my 15. It's just a very different dynamic. I don't think it's fair unless you're literally only nominating your friends' maps. Otherwise, I don't see why that's a problem. I don't think I ever will.
Yeah, if you have like 5 noms a month and it's all the same person, and you probably have a minor issue there. But if you're doing like, I mean, you have like two of your friends are like, oh, okay, that's fair. It's within reason. Like you should, I would imagine, in a social game where you are basically encouraged to make friends and whatnot, that you would nominate friends maps, because it's like, it's just be nice to. I'm not gonna. What am I supposed to like deny? Be like, I'm not nominating your map because you're my friend. That's the complete.
There's a
that's the other
conflict of
extreme.
interest. Sorry.
Can't do it. Oh, you're popular and you know everyone. Guess your maps aren't getting ranked.
What do you think, Hailie?
Yeah, more or less the same with it. I mean, I have nominated so many maps that I dislike or songs dislike, but I still think the general idea should still reach in the qualify section regardless of what I think. And that's about it
Nice.
on that.
Alright. Damn Jelly says, being able to set decimal difficulty settings was a mistake.
I can't really speak to that because there's only 2 values in Taiko, and that's OD and HP. That's all I deal with. So,
Oh, okay.
I mean, in most cases, changing the decimal, it's more of a why question in Taiko. Because if it's like 7.2 and then 7, it's like, just change it to 7. The 0.2 is not going to change the 300 hit window that much. What are you gaining by doing that? And people say what they gain from that is Hard Rock is OD 10 instead of 9.8. But I mean, it doesn't really matter in Taiko. Let's just paraphrase it like that.
Fair enough.
I'll let Hailie go first.
For me, for decimals, it depends. Like, I don't really care about like OD or HP settings. It's like I'll change it whatever people ask me to. But like AR and CS, it really depends. Like, I really like to use mixture of them because it really does make a big difference between how it plays. Like, I like to use 0.5, and even though it's something that even my friends disagree with, I think it gives a nice balance between big circles and small circles without it being overly too small or overly too big. As an example of that.
Yeah, I get that.
So I would say to this is I think I have like my 300 probably maps. I probably have like 260 of them are CS4. I believe decimals for the most part. The only one that I really care about for decimals is the AR, because I think AR 9.3 in the current modern day, well, it's meta, so if we didn't have it, it probably wouldn't be meta, but 9.3, 9.2 is usually the AR for your 5.5 to 6 star maps, like 6.7 star maps. That's how I generally do it.
Okay.
And there is a difference between 9.3 and 9, and there, like, if you play them, you can tell there's a difference. There's also a huge difference from 9 to 9.3 to 10, because 10 is a little absurd for some stuff. Like, I wouldn't put AR10 on a 5.7 star map. Like, that's completely absurd. So I think, for the most part, I believe that AR is one that should have decimals. Even if it was like 9.5. If you had 0.5s, I think that would be good enough. But I think the little in between 9.2, 9.3, which is in between 5, is pretty good. As for HP, though, I believe everyone should. The baseline HP should be 6.
It should be HP 5 though. I don't like 6.
The reason I don't like 5, it depends on the map. But if it's, to use a very blunt example that I'm sure many people know, if it was like my Yubi Boinkyo, or anime band, as people know, if that map was AR 5, I think it would be way too easy. And I'm pretty sure it probably is AR 5 because I didn't think about it at the time. The reason I don't like AR 5 on, like, especially these anime 1-2 jump maps is people have to remember at the end of a combo you get more HP. So if there is combos that are lasting not even a full second, so you're getting more HP if you just hit the combo, it shouldn't be 5, because then you're not ever going to fail the map unless you're doing something crazy, like, wrong, and you probably at that point deserve to fail the map.
Okay, that's more fair. For my maps, I would have to use 5 because they're way too
for
hard.
For your stuff, yeah, that makes sense. Even for me, like with my with my Kadoku something Karen Boku map, it's like 7.4 stars, and it's 200. It goes from 220 to 240 BPM, and it has full screen jumps and streams in it. I'm not gonna put HP 6 on that because people are gonna fail, and they're not gonna fail of their own, like, mistake. They're just gonna fail because the map starts doing unexpected stuff, like jumping up to 240 BPM.
Yeah.
And having streams out of nowhere. So I like having a little. If I go too hard, I like having a little buffer. But if it's like an anime map and the highest combo is 6, and that combo refreshes every measure, then if you're missing, like, you have to miss the entire measure and like half of the next measure to fail the map. And at that point, you should probably fail the map. You shouldn't be granted you're fine, don't worry about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's been my argument for. I've been making issues about people using too low of HP for maps that completely don't deserve it.
That's agreeable. The next one is by Pishyfat, and he says, every song under 5 minutes should have a full spread from easy up.
No, please.
Yeah, see, I disagree with that, even though that wouldn't be an issue for me. However, I have a weird. I don't agree with his statement, but I do feel like, and this is a very personal thing. So I would never in a million years tell someone else to do this. But since I love remapping, as we know, I love remaking old stuff.
Nevo likes remapping, guys.
Just to reiterate that for the 20th millionth time this
We'll put
episode.
it on screen. Mikasa, do that.
If I'm redoing like an old song, for example, like Alone by My First Story, because that was a semi-old famous South map. The one with the Tokyo Ghoul background, that makes no sense. I like doing a full spread I don't like cutting the songs, and I like doing full spreads for the songs, regardless of anything, because back in that time, that was the rule. And also, you cut an old song, you get shot by the OC community, so I like avoiding any drama from that end. So it's a thing where it's like it depends on the song. So if it's like something that's always had one diff, then I'm like, oh, okay, I'll just make one diff. But if it's something that's known, then I'm like, yo, everyone should have an opportunity to play this map or experience this modern remake of the thing. But yeah, for deeming every map under 5 minutes to have a full spread, I think is a little absurd. But it is Pishy, so
Yeah.
Pishy can do whatever he wants.
In my opinion, it's like, I do think that, I don't believe that every map should have a spread, but I also believe that, like, for instance, for maps that is like 430 and over that needs insane and such like that, I do think that if you're going to go and make a song like that, it should still have a balanced spread, which is at times that a lot of mappers will go really on edge with that, and it kind of defeats the purpose of saying stuff like lowest insane if your insane is still almost like an extra. So I still think there should be a balanced spread, but I don't necessarily think that you should have a whole spread in every set.
I actually have a super hot take that completely contradicts what I just said. And to be honest, I hate the idea of spreads, and I think spreads are stupid. But
So every map, even like 30-second maps, should have one map.
I mean, if it's 30-second, I mean, I don't map 30-second stuff, so I wouldn't really have a full opinion on that. But like, I think the concept of spread, and it's just more because when I started playing OC, we had the approved maps, and we had maps like the Big Black doesn't have a spread, Airman doesn't have, like, those are really obvious examples. Like, those old maps, Freedom Die doesn't have a spread, like, those kinds of things are, they didn't have spreads, and they're still popular, and they're still completely fine. Obviously, if I just start playing the game, I can't play Big Black, but it's like, it was a goal to reach the ability to play these maps, and I think that we have completely lost that, because now the goal would be, oh, I have to play this 5-minute map, so, like, those happen, and those exist, so it's, but in general, it's just like, I feel like if I want to make a really challenging map, I should be allowed to rank it, even if it's not 5 minutes long.
So should the spreads be based on star rating?
I don't think spreads should really exist, but I do find that in our current, I would never fight for making spreads not exist, because them existing helps more people than them not existing, I guess is the way I would put it.
Like, for me personally, the reason why I care more about spread is more so like, like you earlier you said about having a wide audience for everyone, like for especially like for popular songs, and I feel like that should be applied to a lot of other songs that is like less than 5 minutes, where it's like, I really feel like this low insane player should be able to have an insane difficulty for them, or this hard player should have a difficulty for them. And if the rule says, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of mixed opinion for me on that, because it's like, I do think spreads should exist, maybe not as strict, but like, I don't think it should be done away with.
But yeah, like the thing I would think of is, if we didn't have spread rules and everyone was making single diff maps, which I would hope wouldn't happen, because even I wouldn't make only single diff maps at that point, because I love making sets. I would hope that most people don't just like go completely, oh, I'm not making any extra diffs for this, I'm gonna have one different rank it. Like, I think that's kind of absurd. Which, to be fair, that probably would happen if we just killed the spread.
Yeah, that would happen. Like, I don't mind if it was like a song that straight up don't call for lower difficulties, but you still have to make them. Like, I disagree on having lower difficulties on this 300 BPM song, because we all know that lower difficulties shouldn't exist at all on that. Like, just keep it as a single diff.
I agree. I say I'm also more like kind of in between, because I feel for harder songs such as that are like really good, that people really like, if you're a newer player and you want to try to get that song but you can't because it's not a diff good enough for you, it's kind of a little disheartening. But I also like see what you guys are saying too. Incan?
Yeah, I was like, there is a great discussion going on. I haven't said a single thing. I don't know.
What's your take on this?
Pretty much what the other two people here said, but I wasn't a huge fan of the spread rule when it came through, but because the only exception I think should be made is when a map is literally like 4 minutes and 45 seconds, where it's like right there to a marathon, but it's not. Because I can make 4-minute sets for... I have made them for a while. I've done Yo-Yo Kokon by Real, which is like 4.5 minutes.
A banger.
I'm gonna do... It was on my singular episode, Tornado. I have it planned to do a full set of that, which is like also 4.5 minutes. The only exception is like if it's right there, but it's not, because for me it's just weird to have a set where it's only Muzu Oni inner. Like that's just weird for Muzu to be the lowest diff. It's just not right in my opinion.
Understandable. No, like for that, then what would be like kind of like a cutoff then? Like 44 minutes and 45 seconds or 30 seconds or?
I would say 4.5, 4:30 is a good cutoff. Because I mean, at that point, it's so it kind of sort of rounds up to 5, but I mean, I wouldn't change anything about the spread rules. People like them, and people can do what they choose to do with them. It's not too much of an issue, but it's very possible to do sets that are 4.5 minutes, or etc.
All right. Well, now here's the last one, and this is by Hobbs 2. People tie map quality to song quality more than they're willing to admit.
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like a lot of people completely, even if it's subconsciously, just like they'll bash a map if they take the song. Because I mean I've experienced it. But yeah, I would have to kind of agree to that.
All right.
Also, Hobbs is cute. Period.
What do you think, Hailie?
It's basically the same on that. Because I have experienced that literally last year with Furioso, that people definitely value the song way more than the map. And that's basically what the drama had started with it. If I had to map anything else, no one would have batted eye with it.
Oh yes. I could say it again. So with my remapping,
Picasso, put it again.
I love remapping. I love this. Whenever I sit down and I'm like, I'm gonna map this old song, I have to keep in mind, if I do this in a weird or way that people don't like
a concept,
I'm gonna get like I do something crazy, people are gonna be mad at it. And I try to, for the most part, to keep ideas from the original set, because I wouldn't say it's most of the time. There's sometimes where I completely change all the ideas of the original map, but if I really like the original, I'll try to keep the ideas from that map into my map. The easiest case would be Thanatos, which is really recent and had so much issue about me copying Rin so closely to where people thought I was plagiarizing. Where I had doubles and a lot of pentagon shapes in it. And that was basically one of the most memorable parts of the original, and it's in my map, and a lot of people just immediately jump to saying, these are the exact same map and you're copying them, even if you put them side by side, they're completely different. So yeah, it's something where it's just like, a lot of people are very critical of old, famous songs, especially things that had really big impacts. Like Freedom Dive was Sotarx's Freedom Dive was a very clear example of people blindly hating it, even though it was actually semi-decent. I don't really like it that much because I'm extraordinarily biased, but me being biased is, a lot of people are biased about that song.
Yeah.
Even though the original map really isn't good. But yeah, so it's just people have a very soft spot for old, famous songs of Osu.
Which is fair, because I mean, it's right.
History.
Exactly. All right. Well, this has it's been past an hour, so that's crazy. So, is there any last things you guys want to say?
I like remaking old songs.
That is true. Nevo does like doing that, guys.
Nothing else to say, really.
All right. Incan?
Vetoes are good.
Yes.
All right, there we have it. All right, so thank you. If you've listened to this full thing, then you know what, give yourself a pat on the back, because this was very long, but also I thought it was really interesting. Yeah, so if you've liked it, please do leave a like. And yeah, thanks again for Hailie, Nevo, and Incandescence for joining me today.
No problem.
And bye.
We.